Hello and welcome back. You're tuned into Revision Hub with Jazzy J. I am back with another video, and today we'll be looking at crime and deviance, which is an AQA sociology topic. If you guys are ready to go, press the thumbs up button right now. Before we go on, let's look at a quick recap on what we looked in my last video. So last video, we looked at the different subcultural theories, including Matza, and Matza had various different concepts, including the technique of neutralization. So before we continue, paper, flashcards, grab them, quickly jot down what you remember from my previous video. You will only know this if you revise, rested, test, and repeat yourself. I can't go on about this, that this is very, very important in order for you to get a good grade within your AQA, Sociology, AS, or even A-level paper. So please take a few moments to do this before you continue on with the next section. So for those of you who were eager to know what the surprise was and what we will be looking at, in this video, we'll be looking at the labeling theory. There are various different theories within the labeling theory category. So today we'll be looking at labeling theory number 1. So, Becker, we've come across Becker, and Becker is a sociologist again, and Becker argues that an act can only become deviant if others perceive or define an act to be deviant. So, if a crime is convicted or a deviant activity is taken place, then that act only becomes deviant if I perceive it as deviant. So, it's my personal opinion whether I think an act is deviant or not, and based on that act will become deviant. So this is simply Becker's theory. Becker uses the following terms within their labeling theory. Okay, so master labels, deviant careers, and selective policing. So let's look at each of them in detail. So let's begin with selective policing. The police hold stereotypes on what is a typical criminal, the characteristics of a typical criminal, what is trouble, what is not trouble, and based on that they convict an individual. Selective policing is simply a concept in which they look at a person, they stereotype, and based on that the police convict a person. They looked at their class, age, gender, and ethnicity, and based on that they make a decision whether we should actually convict a person or not. So it's all based on stereotypes and typification, which we'll be looking at later on. So deviant careers is simply the self-fulfillment prophecy. For example, if you keep on stereotyping that person as being criminal or as being deviant, then when actually the person is not, that person will soon adopt this self-fulfillment prophecy and turn into this criminal and deviant individual. Master label. Master label is simply a person is judged based on their characteristics. So instead of using some terms here, you can use the key term of master labels. And when you use these key terms like selective policing, master labels, and deviant careers, it will help you to get more marks when you're writing an essay. Continuing on, Becker studied a tribe, and that tribe was the Malinowski tribe. So there was a youth who was accused of doing something. People on Ireland labelled him very negatively, showed detest towards him, and he was really accused for what he did and was considered as very wrong. The youth committed suicide. He could not deal with all the stress that was being given towards him, the negative labels. After investigation, the tribe found out that, hold on a minute, what the youth did was not actually wrong. Maybe just how we think was actually wrong. Here we can see how a label can have a negative effect on an individual. The negative effect here is that the youth committed suicide. So, a strength of this theory is that it's not just theoretical but empirical, in the sense that Becker went and conducted a study. He went and looked into this Malinowski tribe. So it was not just theoretical but rather empirical. He found evidence based on that. Also, it shows that the labeling theory is actually there and it's actually possible. So it's in action. So we can see that this is very, very, very important when we look at the labeling theory, because it helps us to get an example of the labeling theory in action. Okay, labeling theory number 2. So first we've looked at Becker. Next is Lerment. Lerment looks at the difference between primary and secondary deviance. When we look at the primary and secondary deviance and the difference between them, Lerment argues that this helps to look at the effect of labeling. So let's look at first what is primary and secondary deviance. So primary deviance is deviance that's not publicly being labeled. Can you think of examples of acts that are not publicly labeled? And if they are not publicly deviantly labeled, then the consequences will be very limited. So can you think of examples of acts that are deviant, not being publicly labeled, and there are very few consequences if the individual is caught? Pause and have a think. Okay, so lots of you have come up with various different examples. So some of the examples may be right. If you are still not sure if your example is right or wrong, the comment section is always there. So just write the slide and then I can actually help you to tell you more like if that example is correct or not. Okay, so the examples that I thought of was speeding, downloading music illegally, and downloading movies illegally. So here we can clearly see that there are very few consequences if caught. So primary deviance, simply deviance that's not been publicly labeled, very few consequences if caught. Examples: speeding, downloading illegal music or videos. Okay, let's look at secondary deviance. Secondary deviance is deviance that is publicly labeled. So it's simply the opposite of primary deviance. Can you think of examples of secondary deviant activities that are publicly labeled and there are lots of bad consequences that come once the act has been found out? Pause and have a think. So you guys must have had a think. A few examples may include something. So I want to know from you guys what the examples are. What can the something examples be? So the comment section is there. I like to get you guys going, get you guys thinking. So in the comment section, type down what you think are examples of secondary deviance that is publicly labeled and has very bad consequences if caught. And obviously they continue. So this theory shows the effect of a label. We can see the effect of a label causes individually to continue committing deviant activities. As we can see, they continue. Once a person is labeled, self-fulfilling prophecy, they continue. So here we can clearly see the effect of a label. So we can always use Lerment's theory about primary as well as secondary deviance in order to look at the effect of labeling. Let's look at Cicourel, labeling theory number 3. Cicourel argues that the police hold stereotypes on what is a criminal, what is a person who is deviant may look like, what are their behavior traits or characteristics. So they base all of this based on cage, class, age, gender, and ethnicity. So the police hold stereotypes: what is a criminal individual may look like, what are the characteristics that a criminal deviant individual may hold, the person's class, age, gender, and ethnicity. So they technically typify it. Typify is simply another word for stereotype. So Cicourel argues that the criminal justice system is fixed. The criminal justice system is negotiable. It is not fixed. So let's see an example and look at case study. This is not a real case study. It's simply made up. So I'd like you to have a look at that and then we can see Cicourel, whether he is right or wrong and whether that theory fits in or not. So case study number 1. A boy belongs to a middle-class family. The boy's father is a doctor, whilst the boy's mother is a teacher, very reputable. The boy is walking home from school and gets into a fight with another working class boy. The working class boy belongs to a black ethnic group, and obviously, as we know, and we will be learning about how the blacks are stereotyped as a result, they have higher criminal and deviant statistics, that they are the most criminal and deviant ethnic group, and also the working class boy's parents were unemployed. They both hit each other, went into a fight, and they hit each other with a brick. They both were caught, the police was called, and their parents were called in by the police. So the parents were told by the police what their child have done. So both the working class and the middle class boys said that, you know what we did was based on self-defense, and we did this to protect ourselves. The police asked their parents what jobs do they do. Due to the middle class boy's father, as I mentioned, was a doctor, and the mother was a teacher, the middle class boy was given a warning, freed. However, the working class boy was black, high criminal statistics there. Parents were unemployed, so more likely they will be committing more criminal activities. If they started with this one, then they might commit more criminal deviant activities. As a result, that boy was sentenced with a 1 week sentence in prison. Here we can clearly see how the police held stereotypes, and the stereotypes here was based on class and also ethnicity. So they have these typifications, as we say, on what is a criminal or deviant individual like, what's their characteristics, what's their traits, right? Here we can clearly see crime is not fixed but negotiable, and this is Cicourel's theory, and you can always use this example that I've looked at in your essay answer. This will help you to show the examiner that you have understood the theory as well as you have looked into an example and you've applied the theory with the example. Simply, we can see crime is not fixed but negotiable. What we've learned, so we've learned various different subcultural theories. Next video we'll continue to look at various other subcultural theories. So till then, please revise, rest, test and repeat yourself the content that we've looked at in this video, as well as all other videos that I've done so far. And again, I'm on Instagram, so you can scan the name tag revisionhub_JazzyJ. And do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel. There'll be a small smiley somewhere on the screen, so please feel free to press the smiley and click subscribe if you're happy with the content that I am doing, or is it good or is it not. Please comment that in the comment section. It'll be really good if you guys subscribe, because that encourages me to make more videos. And please press the bell icon to never miss my video. Thank you so much for tuning in into Revision Hub with Jazzy J.